Hi everybody, Mature Simmer. Welcome back here to my generational farm on first generation of Oberon. So grass is ready. I've been waiting. It actually stopped growing over the winter, which makes sense for grass, but was a little disappointed to see that I lost those few days. There wasn't really any contract work to get done then, but back away from this tractor so that it's not that loud in our ears. So I'm going to get going immediately and mow and then figure out what I'm doing. So certainly been spending time kind of thinking, strategizing. There's a possibility I may go ahead and grab another field. I think it'd just be a single one at this point, but set my GPS. Alright. And then we'll turn on the line, set this, and we'll go that way then. Alright. So I think I'm going to want to run down a couple rows, probably 3 or 4 rows, honestly. So let me change that to go in that direction. And we'll move this over. Alright, so I lower, okay, that's lowered. Oops, I need to unfold it. Let me do that. Well, now does it change? No, it does not change the width. It just does its thing. Alright, so here goes our first of hopefully many grass harvests. And I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of cut through here. I'm not going to get a lot from that additional grass, but there's still going to be a bit. So the other challenge I had was that there just wasn't a lot of contracts available. Alright, the nice thing is that I've got nothing in that field, so I'll go ahead and maneuver a bit so everybody's kind of brand new, because if they're planting anything, obviously harvest season is coming up. So whoops, so this is a bit of the fun. Let's see, now mowers will mow backwards and forwards, so I don't think I have to, go over it in a certain direction, but I'm not entirely sure. So I'm almost wondering if this will actually be a better way to do this and go up and down, because that way I can kind of just keep going. That will help. So I'm going to try that, but then that means I'm going to change this for a second, because I'm going to run these along the route here. And now this becomes a headland for me. You know what? I'm just going to leave it, because otherwise... So here I'll be able to... Whoops. There we go. Too many buttons. I'm turning it on, turning it off, floating it around. And the challenge will be... I put my silo here, but I may just put it between the trees along the other way. So there weren't a lot of contracts happening. Oops. Yeah, I need to, with the shorter run, I need to turn faster, otherwise it ends up skipping kind of like what I did, which ultimately was like, yeah, that'll work, but was not exactly what I wanted. But there weren't too many contracts in between. Now, I did find that Amazon fertilizer spreader in the used market. That's been the major difference in my money situation. I did several contracts, including one for sugar beets on field 46, which took way longer than I would have expected. I think it took me 3 to 4 hours to do that contract for probably netting $9,000-$10,000 if I was lucky. I don't keep track of it quite that close. Right, just trying to figure out what works best. Because the nice thing is that, obviously, it's interesting that when I go here, I get a good amount of grass on the edge, but when I'm crossing where the road is, it's basically telling me there isn't anything to pick up, but I don't know. That is how it works. As far as making enough to cover the silo, obviously I haven't done that, and even if I had not done anything, because the spreader was like $12,000. It wasn't expensive in any way, but my thought there is, A, I really should be fertilizing the fields periodically, and B, it makes fertilization contracts a bit more appealing and likely to be beneficial. So that should help me make some money quickly. So when I saw that come up, I really didn't have any hesitation with getting it. Interesting. Who would have known? That's the machine I own now. So could have gotten it on sale, but really would have had no idea that was going to come up. So that's kind of the luck of the draw. I mean, there was really nothing that was having me buy it when I bought it, other than just making sure everything worked before I found out later that it wouldn't. But anyway, so other than that, nothing of value on the used market for me. But I do try to take a look pretty regularly. I'm guessing there's a flurry of contracts out there, but I think it would be a bit foolish to not get what I need to get done here done, and then afterwards jump to supplemental income. So, but that's what has happened since I last have any content grabbed to do anything with. At this point, I've got enough here. Now I'm gonna go back to my up-downs and just do it that way. So if I buy a field, I'm gonna buy, I can't change to point, but that kitty corner from this, so that rectangular one across the intersection. Hopefully that is clearer and makes more sense. So I think, again, I'm gonna kind of skip rows so that I can move along faster, because I don't have to be perfect. Now, if a windrower comes up, I may go ahead and do that, even though, I said I wouldn't, because it frankly is going to mean less passes. But, I'll have to see, and I may just decide to get one at some point just because of the amount of time this is going to take. And who knows, by the time I'm done mowing this field, I may be like, you know what, I'm getting a windrower. So we'll see, because even this plan right now is just seeming a little crazy. Whoops. So is the fact that I somehow wasn't on line there. So I'm still not sure what version I've got as far as how many rows I'm skipping, because actually that was not the same amount. I've got a bigger gap. I can visually see that. So yeah, this is not as smooth. But one of the challenges I get, like, yeah, I got this great tractor, but if I could put the mower on the front, I could then haul the trailer behind. So there's definitely some inefficiency there. But I've kind of made the decision. Obviously, I have the tractor, and flipping things around now would be kind of crazy and definitely just costing me money. So it would kind of negate everything I did. Alright, so this one is similar, so I went 4, it looks like, because I think I was on negative 21 when I went the other way. Now it's negative 25 and negative 29, so I am, in fact, skipping 4, which is fine. At least I understand what that is. So there's a bit of hesitation, so let me kind of wrap up the thoughts, and then I'll just go to doing this, because it's not as if I'm giving you all kinds of joy and excitement to listen to here. You're just watching me in the pre-dawn light creating grass rows that I'm then going to have to pick up, which, you know, I'll certainly be able to share with you how that goes. But the limiting factor in this model is the fermenting silo. So there's 3 sizes of fermenting silos: small, medium, and large. They don't make it too terribly complex with terminology. It's not Starbucks. So the small silo is what most folks probably have, and that will do a little over 80,000 liters in a 24-hour cycle, which means that if I can do grass every 3 days, every 4 days, that's kind of what my driving factor is in determining how much I can handle and what size silo I need, because otherwise what I've got is my grass is going to keep constantly getting further and further ahead of my silo, to the point where I suddenly am ready to mow again and I haven't even picked up the grass from before, and I don't know if the dynamic of FS22 would allow it to double stack, or if I in essence am just then doing work for nothing. Because, you know, the flip side of that is that I have that winter downtime where my grass isn't going to be growing, and so in theory that allows me a little bit of catch-up time. So I could go over a bit, but going over too much doesn't make sense. And obviously overbuying in anything also is a conscious decision to prefer money over time. Because as I've talked about quite often on this generational farming situation, I've got time. Money's my limiting factor, and the thing that I have a finite amount of. I have a finite amount of time too, but you know what I mean. Like, I need to buy my silo at this point, and I don't have enough for the smallest silo, which is 60,000. So, where I get on, if I have time to do the work, I can do the work. There's nothing limiting me in that regard. So, there is a little bit of, oops, I had picked up my mower. On the other end, I'm not picking it up, and so I'm still trying to kind of get with a flow here. And obviously, I'm not incredibly efficient. But, we knew we were on 21. I mean, we're talking 50, 60 passes here with a 3 meter. If a more inexpensive mower comes up, there's a possibility I would do something. But I don't know, once again, that makes the best sense, because, like it or not, there's still that movement all the time. I'm trying now to figure out, these are going to be harder, aside from the fact that there's trees and all of that. Alright. There's nothing that stops me from going around and aligning to 53, but I need to pay attention to those rows. See, and the problem is I move a bit, and then again, for the collection, like, there's going to be pieces I'm going to leave. There's just inefficiency problems I see the whole way. The benefit with a windrower of some sort is I can take 3 or 4 of these rows, put them into one, and it really then again becomes prioritizing time over money, because I determine, hey, I don't want to be on this field for that many passes, and so I spend that extra money, because at the end of the day, like, let's say, I don't know that I would get anything larger than something that would get me 4 rows. So what that would mean is, hold on, this is why, I do understand doing this in real time rather than some kind of a voiceover. It's just I've never done the voiceover because it just isn't how I'm doing these videos. I get it's disjointed in the conversation because I've got to jump in and kind of stop talking as I'm trying to think, or else I just start fumbling around and, I waste time somewhere one way or the other. But if I do 4, like, I'm going to have to go up and down with the windrows to do the 4. Then I'm still going to have to run the thing. So, I'm still kind of covering the field a couple times. The difference is instead of 4 passes with the Pottinger, I'm getting a pass with the windrower and a pass with the Pottinger. And in theory, that goes lower. Now, if I'm down to 3, it's like I'm literally, if I can only get a windrower that does 3, I'm basically saving 1 pass of the field. And then once again, it becomes, is that really worth the tens of thousands that's going to cost me? I'm trying to get this lined up in a way, because now I'm on a different group of 4. So now I'll be able to more clearly see, does it mow backwards? It does. I figured it did, but it goes a lot slower backwards if it's doing that, so I just need to be aware of that. So all of this really disjointed, long discussion is to basically kind of indicate I'm between medium and small on the silos. I know for certain I wouldn't do enough grass, even if I had the capability to do it, to do a large silo, which is over 1 million liters, where the medium is or not over 1 million, it's 900,000. I'm confused because I thought I was on 59. Then this, I shouldn't be on 54. This is just not working the way I would like it to work. Alright, so 54, and then I need to go to 50, so I need to keep track of that in my head as long as I talk too. And so the medium silo will do, about 500,000, and then it's a little over 900,000 for the large, but the 900,000 is literally double the cost. It's 200,000 versus $100,000 to purchase, where the difference between a small and a medium is 60 to 100. So, and you aren't getting double the capacity, because this will do like 332,000 to I think like 565 or something like that. So there are limits to what you can do, where I could have my fields outrun my silo, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So now I'm lined up. These are fine, so I must have been off on the direction. And when I say fine, they're 4. I went to 50, now I'm on 46, then I'll be on 42, and so forth. Indications, both, calculating and just feedback that I've heard from other FMs, is like field 28 is getting about 200,000 liters of grass off of it. Field 28 is slightly larger than what I have here. So my expectation is I'm going to get less than 200,000 liters off this field. Now, it's still going to then take me more than 2 days with the small silo to process that into silage. So that is, again, what we're talking about, because adding that other field gets me about 2 acres larger than field 28, so I'm going to get over 200,000 liters of grass if all holds as it should. And then in 3 days, that would mean 600,000 liters when that silo can really process, say, 240,000. So I'm leaning toward a medium silo, because again, that, the pressure on that decision is limiting to some degree, unless again I'm willing to take a hit, because I'm not going to be able to sell that silo. That's a depreciating asset, just like the vehicles are. And every time, time goes by, that silo becomes worth less and less, and even if I were to turn around and sell it the moment I build it, I'm already losing tens of thousands of dollars, likely. Just the nature of buildings in Farming Simulator. So if that happens, switching between the 60,000 and the 100,000 then means a harvest or two or more is spent making up my loss and not simply getting me ahead. So similar to my decision to not just go back to the old tractor and just kind of take my knocks here, learn from it, and determine, hey, if I'm going to do this same work next time, now I have specific evidence that I've got of what my experience was like based on the fact that I had this tractor. Now again, the likelihood of me just picking this tractor up, if it wasn't on sale on the next server, is probably virtually zero. But that's kind of the piece. And so what I'd hate to do, because I think I'm lining up to be in a position where I can do more grass, and that small one seems to be limiting things. But I'm not sure. Because there's also the sanity of just doing enough grass here. Whoops. I keep lifting and picking up and lifting and picking up. And so that's what I've got to figure out. And my problem is I have to figure it out before I really know for certain how much grass I have, because I can't put grass anywhere until I have somewhere to put it, which means I need to buy the silo. And at a minimum that means I've got $40,000 less profit right away just by that decision. And and that's perpetual. I mean, I'm always $40,000 further behind than I was. The question becomes, can I advance faster, because now I can process up to 500,000 liters, but that only makes sense if I go ahead and buy more fields. And if I suddenly do this work and decide, wow, it takes me an hour and a half to mow and then another hour and a half to collect, it's 3 hours just for these fields. If I add the other field, it's going to add another hour and a half in total, and I don't want to spend that much time on grass. There's those kind of things going on, because at the end of the day, what I'm starting to realize is, this is taking a bit of time. It may be taking less time than I think, because the work time calculation, because you can see I can go 14 with this mower. It's not like it's slow. The work time calculation is telling me that these fields are going to take an hour, but I think what that means at a minimum is it's going to take me an hour and a half with all the turning and dancing at the ends and so forth that I'm running into. So I think it's a realistic estimate that that's what I'm doing, and therefore once I have that proven out, now I'm realigning here because now I had a different set of width on these anyway, but there aren't any other rows, so it'd be ridiculous to skip. So now I need 15, and then I'll have 19 going back the other way. So with that all being said, I'm torn. The entrepreneur, capitalist in me, whatever you want to call that pull of not being limited in my ability to make money, is saying, go with the bigger one. The pragmatist in me that knows that I'm going to be cursing my name, so stick with the small one and avoid the pressure, and then you don't necessarily need the other field, because there's other ways to make money on the map. And one might argue, so let's have that discussion, 200,000 liters of silage, because we're just selling as it goes, again, unless we were doing bales and just letting them sit around or whatever, you're not going to be able to sell everything at the top spot. But I also don't want all the issues with baling that we talked about. You've got collection, you've got whatever. To me, making $20 extra per 1,000 liters, that time versus money trade-off, I've already determined is not worth it for me. So basically that means we're doing a calculation on an average of 171,000 or $171 per 1,000 liters, which is what the average price of silage will be. What that means is 200,000 liters is going to be $34,200 is what you're going to make. I made 100 to 125,000 with contracts, which basically is almost an entire year's worth of harvest. And so it really almost looks like contracts or working your own fields end up being almost equal if you're willing to put in the time. Now the difference here is, once again, if my work time proves out, I'm talking about 3 hours to do all this work. Well, and then I have to do the deliveries, so there's more time there. So, it may turn into 4.5, but, if we do 3, and then I get 3 harvests off the field each year, and I was getting the 200,000, I would basically in 9 hours, so 3 hours per harvest times 3, just to make it abundantly clear, would then have made the little over 100,000, which is what I made in contracts in about double that time. So it's still more efficient to work your own fields than it is to do contracts, which has normally been the farming simulator model. So that makes sense. And so that's kind of the piece, is like, well, yeah, I could go run off and do contracts, and the only difference then ends up being like, I'm just bored out of my mind just doing grass. And contracts give me variation, but contracts aren't guaranteed. Other people have access to contracts, other people don't have access to my fields. So I've got more direct control over my ability to make money on my own fields than I do with contracts. So the unemotional, purely mathematical and risk modeling calculation would tell me I should grow my farm, which in theory tells me I should go with the larger silo. So that's where I'm at. So I'm going to leave it at that point. Otherwise, I'm just kind of babbling in circles. I'll keep thinking. I'll be back at some point. If I have any wonderful revelations, I'll have an opportunity to share them. But at this point, I'm going to focus on the work, and I'll see you in a bit. I'm done with mowing. So the one thing I did realize is, like, at this point, I can grab contracts if I want. So there's only one out here. So I've gone ahead and grabbed it. It's a fertilizer contract. And this is a bit of a test as well. So we'll see. We have 4,855. We're going to see how much fertilizer we use. But the benefit I have is, again, I didn't have to borrow the equipment, which would have been $1,000, $985 to be exact. And would have taken, a good hunk of that. If you think about it, it's basically over 20% of the money would have been gone. Now, I'm guessing, I need to turn this off. I need to lower it. I don't know. I don't need to prove the point to myself. Sometimes I feel like I do, but I'm not going to, because I know what would happen. It would tell me the cune isn't down. So now I have fertilizer in the spreader at this point, but I'm gonna go ahead, whoops. I don't know why I'm like turned around in my, because I'm going backwards. I'm an idiot. That's why I'm turned around in my head. I'm turning, but the thing's turning in the opposite direction, so that's what I wasn't vocalizing to you very clearly, so. Ridiculousness. Early morning, I'll write it off to that. I'm still not wide awake, I don't know. Or maybe I'm just stupid. Whatever works. So yeah, I was 416, but it's field 44. So let me take a look, because maybe I won't grab any. Alright, it's that field. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot with what I have, because I'm right near the store anyway, and near my farm. So all of this works out pretty well. Let me turn on this again. But the nice thing, and yes, that is accurate, This Amazone, I love this thing, because it'll go up to 42 meters in spread. So I was joking with another FM that I was talking to when I found this, and said, now that this is on sale, I can probably do any field on this map in 2 passes. That might be a bit of an exaggeration, but it's not going to be much. This field is going to be done in 2 passes. So let me reposition this, because this is probably still, it's still too far over. So I can go over here. There we go. Now I can lock on. Alright, so I'm just writing some things down so that I have tracking, so that I don't have to go back. And again, this will use a lot of fertilizer because it's spreading very, very far, so it's not as if this isn't going down, but I'll be able to see very quickly what I use, and then I can kind of start to calculate what my profit's going to look like. So yeah, it's pretty clear right now. I am not going to have this field done. I'm not even going to get done with this one pass with the 416 liters I have. So one could argue, did I get halfway? I don't know. But I didn't get very far. So, what may end up happening, because I made about $1,000 on the contracts before, but that was with renting equipment. Looks like I'm actually gonna have a tiny bit, but maybe that'll be out of the amount that I need to finish, but we'll see. But then if I get the equipment back, so in theory, I'd make $1,900 on this contract is kind of what I'm expecting. But you can see, that quickly I'm 30% done. The benefit of the spreading, if nothing else, is just the speed that I can knock these things out. So if I could, again, I'm not making that in profit, but if I can do this in 5 minutes, if I had all the material already, it would be a pretty effective pay rate. Alright, so we're gonna go with big bags. I know I'm gonna go with 2 of them. And this becomes kind of a little bit of where I'm kind of chasing things, because now obviously I need to make, if I don't make 3640 on this, I'm not even going to be back at where I was when I started as far as the cash. So then it's like, in theory, I'm taking a little bit more of a loan for my silo. Speaking of the silo, I did make the decision. I'm just going with a small silo because cooler heads prevailed from the standpoint of, like, I'm doing this, like, this is a, this is a game I'm playing. It's not my life. And it's hard, and I'd say that's what a good sim gives you, is it almost, you approach it in a way that is like, this is the right decision to make, and you're making it as if it's like real life. And to me, that's just a testament to the quality of the immersion of the sim, that at the gut level, I'm feeling like I need to make this decision that way because it's honestly the right thing to do. But like, my full-time job is not farm simulator. Ooh, so this is actually going to take 3 passes, but again, they're partial passes, and this is a decent sized field, so this isn't nothing. Now I'm going to do one quick little test here. Alright, so because we have precision farming on, what I was wondering is it going to apply where I've already been? And it's not. It did a little bit, probably because I wasn't perfectly straight, so it used 2 liters there. for a second as I took off. Now it's consuming it at more of a regular pace here. You know, but if I suddenly have to now buy a third bag, like there's something off in the mathematics that, and so I'm hoping that isn't what we're going to see, but I'd be a liar if I'd say at the consumption rate I'm visually seeing here that I wasn't suddenly feeling that that might be what happens. Because yeah, I've used another 400. Now, this is not going to be a full run the whole way. Well, actually, it kind of is, now that I think about it. So, yeah, we'll have to see. Now, it was 50%, so I might just have to go back, and so it may end up being 1,600. But with this kind of a field, I almost have to determine when I trade off, and I would say it's probably once the field gets to the halfway point, which it's not going to do anytime soon, basically between that larger gap where the little tree comes up, where it makes sense for me to come back and start at the top where I'm getting more coverage. Because right now, where I've hit the edge, like my fertilizer spread doesn't slow down, as you can see. So at this point, I'm going to call it. I'm going to leave that segment, and I'm going to go where I can get the bigger bang for the buck at the top of the field here, where I can start with 100% field coverage again. And then, you know, do what I need to get my 100%. Now, you know, now I'm feeling better because I still have over 1,000 liters, so I haven't even used another bag, and we're at 87%, as you can see that just popped up. I'm not quite sure when that triggers, but you can see here, like, I'm going to get the full coverage of the field, and so I'm going to, you know, hit 90% pretty quickly. I'm sure I'm there at this point. Alright, what I'm going to do is do this, and then turn, so that I'm just heading in this direction. But pretty soon, there we go. Alright, so I'm going to collect this, 48.55. So in theory, I'm ahead, but obviously I bought fertilizer. I made $1,879.30 technically. So the way I back into that, again, just math, but for those of you maybe who are less comfortable with figuring this stuff out, it's $1,820 per bag for the fertilizer. So that means it's $1.82 per liter for the fertilizer. So every single liter that leaves, I lose almost $2. That's the cheapest way I can get it. I was kind of curious, so when I compare that to what we can buy fertilizer for on my Shellbrook map that I'm playing in FSN, it's $1.52 there when we buy it in bulk. So buying this on pallets or in bags, there's the markup, which I think we're all aware of. You know, and so therefore that eats more into the profit. So it was 1,635 liters of fertilizer, so a little bit over a bag and a half. So, you know, it's not an insubstantial amount. You know, and it's hard with this because, you know, it's 16 acres, but there's a lot of stuff that's not the field. So just again, since at this point there's no contract out there that I'm waiting on, or you know, that I would want to grab, because there isn't one. You know, if I head over here, I'll be able to get an exact number. So 7.57 acres, So that is about half an acre, a little bit over half an acre larger than what my two fields add up together, because those are 6.96 is what I have here. So in theory, that amount of fertilizer would be what I need to do these fields as well, which also helps me figure out the amount, because that's $2,975.70. So that would mean if I got 200,000 off these fields, which I'm not, or liters, then I would basically be making 31,000 if I fertilize the field. Now, obviously, if I throw lime on here, that becomes a different cost calculation, because I've got to rent a spreader, get the lime, and so forth. So there's, some rental costs there and so forth. So that's the one downside of this Amazone. It's wonderful for fertilizer spreading because of how wide it is. Now, the other thing I can do, that is a variable rate spreader. So if I had a rectangular field, and let's say I had a pass at the end where I had half of the distance left, I could shrink the spreading width, which would then shrink the consumption of fertilizer out there and get it a lot closer, because obviously we were throwing things off the end of the field here. It would have been a little more tricky with the angle, because obviously it just shrinks from the center point where it's throwing, so it's pulling in from both sides. So I would in essence have to be moving over at an angle that when I shrunk the spreader, it wouldn't come off the edge of the field or come off the border edge of where I had spread fertilizer before. But now going back to what is next, which is starting to pick this up and starting to process, I need to go ahead and get the silo, and like I said, the pressure would be on to obviously make that silo worth it, which means I would have to push to get over 330,000 liters or whatever it is every harvest. And I just don't want to be doing that. I'm going to have other things in FSN, where we did get told also while I was waiting, we're officially kind of in the process of moving to Hobo's Hollow and the other farm. So that will be going on, where right now the time I've spent here in generational farming, I've not had that occurring, and so I need to be careful that I'm not estimating my ability to work. I'm going to turn things off, because otherwise I'm just burning a little bit of gas that I don't need to be burning. So yes, I was able to do all that work and spend all that time here, but that's going to decrease just by the very nature. I can't, do both of those things at once. I'm going to be in one server or the other. So I think before I get too big for my britches and think I can do something that I can't do, and in essence throw $40,000 away, which is not an insubstantial amount, I'm just going with a small silo, and then I can make the determination, because I think I could still go ahead if I wanted to and get that other field. So if we're clear, I'm talking about 39 here. So there's, a couple reasons. Of the three that I have near me, this is field to empty space the best ratio by far. I've got this weird section here, this one here on 17, and then obviously we have this whole area here that isn't field. Aside from the fact this has also got the best soil underneath it, and then we have all that. So there's pieces that come into this, because to get the higher level, I'm going to have to soil sample. I then got to go ahead and work on various things. There's costs there. That will lower my environmental score for a while, because it's going to drag my average down, because until you get through that first harvest, as we saw, your nitrogen and all that is lower. So there's just a lot of things that chew away at your profit as you're doing things. You know, and I may find I get 160,000 liters or something here, and it's like, well, you know, I don't want to get another 80,000 liters off that field and then suddenly be, well, I guess I'd still be okay. But if I can harvest in 3 days, then I wouldn't be. So let me place this silo. So here we go. See, now here, I don't want to put it down there. Well, I'm going to have to get myself above 60,000, so let me do that. Well, that's interesting. What is it overlapping with? Because I have grass, I can't play. Oh, that's great. I think because I have grass, it's considering that it's overlapping with another object. Well, that's going to be a bit of a problem. Alright, then what I need to do is I need to figure out where I need to put this, and then I need to pick up the grass in that space first. So my concern here is if I do this, like, am I going to get hung up on these trees coming in and out? But if I do this, I don't have enough space between the fields. Wow. Alright. But I hate to get rid of things. Okay, so let me start with my initial thought, which was this corner is what I was going to do. But I think I'm back in the same boat where I'm worried about the trees and hitting them. Although I think I'm less worried. I don't know. I mean, are these any different? Because there I'm like, the dots are almost, they're not really. It's not a great place for this, let me just say that. Alright, but this is still better than putting it between the fields, I think. My only benefit of between the fields is, let's see, and between the, like, I'm definitely gonna hack into a portion of the, I suppose if I go, no, but I'm sure it's gonna be a square footprint. My thought was, well, I can put it over here, let the big part hang off that way, but I don't know that I can get over enough. So there's just not a great way to do this without taking a part of the field. Well, this creates a real conundrum because I'm worried now that I am going to not be able to clear enough space to place this. I'm like gonna have to be really, really... Do I really want to place it? So the problem is, like, if I place it up there and then it doesn't work, you know what, I could get rid of a couple trees. I mean, I could cut a tree down if I need to. I guess let me... Alright, these trees are tall enough, so this is a different thing. So let me do this. We're gonna run some tree clearance tests. Farming simulator style. We're gonna see where we get stuck. Alright, it's not getting me stuck there, but I'm not also coming in that way. Let me go around this way, because I basically need to test the correct sides of the trees. So what I need to see is this side. Alright, so it's not giving me anything there. And then, so I think I'm fine, which is great. And if I wasn't fine, I could always cut these trees down. They're on my property. Now the thing would be if somehow Farming Simulator said I couldn't do it, but so I think I'm okay. So it's just a matter then of picking these up enough. So let's see. So let me do that. Alright. So I basically need to grab these 3 or 4 rows. Now the nice thing is it's only 127 liters. I was worried I was going to end up with like 1,000 liters from this tiny strip, and with only 16,000 liters to play with, you know, that doesn't give me a lot, but this seems to be better. So I'm going to take this one back a little further, because I know I'm not going to need to go that far into the field. And I'll just keep kind of doing that. So yeah, it's these game dynamics sometimes that catch you, because never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that it would give me a hard time. I mean, it's one thing to, like, okay, I need to make this decision because I don't want to lose that grass, and now I know, you know, if I did that, it's going to be whatever I pick up here was what was at risk. So, you know, it's going to be 1,000 liters, assuming this works. But let me see. So I'm going to try that. Is it just too close to the trees? I don't understand, because I didn't have an overlaps with things on the map, because this is not land owned by me, but I mean, it's possible it's this grass, but oh boy, this is concerning me. I mean, because otherwise I think I'm going to have the same problem on the other end. Alright, I think I'm going to have to take more here than I think, though, is the problem. And this is just going to be a test, so I'm just going to do a few of these. Yeah, if this ends up being a wasted harvest, I am not going to be happy about this, I will tell you that. Because what I'm worried about is that just because I have anything around, this is giving me a no-no. And that the field has been touched. And then it's going to tell me I can't do it. Because the kind of the testing of the fit I was doing, like I didn't actually go try to place it anywhere. I had just kind of estimated where it would go. Okay, I saw money appear somewhere. Alright, so there we go. So the good news is, like, yes, it appears the grass is a problem, but I could go ahead, like I have a way to place it, which is important because that was my concern. So, I mean, I could go here, and the question then becomes, is this easier, you know, just losing this, because like I can get all the way over to the edge. You know, I'm not near a road there. You know, this may be the easiest thing to do, but I want to explore my options. Because if I feel I can do less over there, so I'm wondering if the trees are in the way, and in that case, like, because technically I can't cut trees right now, because we're outside the time when they let us do it, but I think, again, there's a little bit of flexibility, and I think in this case I would have to kind of ask for forgiveness, because I'm not going to not be able to do something, but the other side is, oops, keep hitting, because there's a lift and there's a turn it on button, so I basically keep turning it off. Alright, so I've got plenty of capacity, so I'm gonna kind of grab more, now I know I can grab more. I got more room to work with. So at this point, like if I clear these rows back, like way back here, so that everything is picked up, and I can't place the silo, then it's got to be the trees. And the only way to validate that is to like cut the trees down and try it again, but that's a lot of work just for what I don't know is going to actually be any benefit at all. Because what I'm starting to see, I think, is I'm going to have to take a hunk of the field or make it hard to work a part of the field no matter where I place this thing. Just kind of what everybody ran into. I was just hoping that I was lucky. Alright, so it looks like I might... Alright, I saw it give me an option, but I just want to know what that option is. Alright, so at that point I'm entirely, like I'm way in the field here. But yes, it has to be the trees over there. My only hesitation, although I don't, like I said, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Because like I can't put this thing in the road. So like, the best I can do is get near the road, and I don't know that I'm any further away from the field here than I am over there. So I think, it's just a matter of where, and that will work. So let's see. All right. So I now have it. It is what it is. It lives, and let's see. The question is, I took a little bit, so obviously I lost this tiny bit of field, I assume. But that's really not that bad. So I think we're in good shape there. And yeah, my 2 points of interaction are accessible. So, this will make it significantly easier to get to. So there's no doubt this is better from being able to work with the silo than it would have been in the other areas. But, yeah, it becomes those best laid plans. But also it's important to know that your grass is in the way when you're doing this. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out what is not working again. Goodness. Okay, turn on the loading wagon. Did it get that? Yes, it got that, I think. Alright. So now I just need to drive these and pick this up and see what I end up with, and that will be easy enough because the silo will have it, and I don't know that I need to start processing immediately because I know I don't have it full. So I think I'll just pick things up and get the silo loaded, and I'll activate it once I have it, because it's just going to be easier than trying to do math on something that's moving, because I'd end up deactivating it at some point anyway. And like I said, it's not as if I need this to run before things will work. So let me collect all this grass up, and then I'll be back to wrap up what I've got here. And then we'll go from there. If I continue doing anything else today, I'm going to split episodes because I don't want to make them incredibly long just to pack things in. Now, if I'm doing anything else today, it's going to be more contracts. So it may just be easy enough to share like I did before and say where we're at. Now, the one thing before I go, because I'm probably going to forget, when I go back in, 35,000 is our loan right now. So not terrible, but it's not something I'm going to be able to take care of even with a full harvest. So, definitely I'm going to need some contracts to come back into the green on that. So, definitely going to keep looking for things. I just cannot get this to work. I keep hitting the wrong button. So, let me do this. Let me get this done, and then we'll come back in and we'll wrap things up. Got my last group here. I'd be very, very surprised if I fill this trailer again. It's going to be pretty full, but we get about 3,000, 3,500 off a full row here vertically. So, this will be maybe 2,500 at the most by the end of this row, I would think. And then we've got one more full row and then some partials. So there's no contracts that are sitting out here. It looks like, looking at the map, most of the fields are planted at this point and growing. So, there might be some fertilization and so forth. But as we've seen, they make some money, but they're not incredible. The benefit that they have, whoops, I was doing just fine until I started talking again, which makes sense. I mean, I'm now splitting my focus, and obviously it's causing me some challenges. But the benefit of the fertilizer contracts is the speed. That's really, where we get that, in that we can get those done in 10 or 15 minutes on most of the fields here. So while the income is low, just the potential, if you can get 4 or 5 of them to show up at once, like you can knock all of those out in an hour, and with not having to have equipment that's rented, and then more importantly worry about an additional charge for the rental for an hour. That will make sense. So I'll certainly likely do a few more, just from the standpoint of paying for the fertilizer spreader on its own there. I made whatever it was, 1,800 or something, 1,900, so I'm really looking at least 6 or 7 contracts just to have paid for the implement and be able to say that it's been taken care of. So we've got 3 more passes here. It may prove me a liar. I may fill this up, because this is still a pretty long row. Although I can't imagine I'm going to get more than 2,000 off of this, and then they shorten up pretty quickly, and I think it's 1,000 for that shortest one at most. But it's 16,100 for the forage wagon that we've got here. So we're going to be over at 14,000. So we may have just a tiny bit more than one full wagon, because I'm down to basically 1,300. So I think I'm gonna fill this. But having crop is not something I'm going to complain about, that's for sure. It just makes a little bit longer of a video than I was expecting, because I just figured, I'll get done, we'll carry it over, we'll see what we got. But I'm going to be very surprised if this doesn't... Why is this suddenly having a problem? But it clearly is. So it's full. There's a tiny bit there, so definitely pick that up. It's going to be, Probably less than 10 liters laying there. Yeah, I wish the server would stop hiccuping here and just let me get over there. So this is not the fastest emptying wagon either. Yeah, the other thing I was thinking as I was working this, because you can see like this tractor's still taking a bit of time to get fully up to speed, and that's with the extra horsepower. I'm also thinking, while I would have been able to collect everything here with the smaller tractor, I'm thinking all in all, everything would have been substantially more time consuming. So I didn't do a great job of keeping the entire track of where I'm at here. But I know from when I looked before, I'm at 50 minutes, almost exactly right now. And I probably had 10 or 15 minutes before I started tracking, because I think I had done the headlands at the end and so forth. So, you know, a little over an hour, which is well within the expectations that I thought. So there you go, even less than I thought. 3 liters on the remnant there, and so if we get 500 in total, I'll be shocked here. I think it's going to be less than that. No, it might prove me wrong. Look at that. But not much more. 672. So we'll get this turned off. Let's see. It's so hard to tell. Okay, that's down, and that's up. So at this point, I can turn off my GPS, get myself over here, dump this in, and then we'll take a look at what we got. So, wow. That's more than I expected. I was not expecting anything near 200,000 off these fields, because I'm an acre short of places that have been getting 200. So, not bad. But I'm going to activate this, and it's going to start running. And you can see, and this is pretty close to what we're going to get in the output here. But let me kind of pull through. And this wagon will take silage, so I can go ahead and kind of, you know, line myself up over here so that I'm ready to go. And you can see it says start filling, and obviously it wouldn't if it couldn't do anything. But, you know, it's going to take a little bit of time for it to process this, because we do run in real time. So, but there you go. We've got 50 liters. And, you know, we'll then get that sold. So at this point, you can see where we're at. But we're here in March, so we're kind of at the high end. We're going to start trending down. Now, I can, and that might be what I'll do, is I can, I think, refill the silo, even though the silage is full. It just obviously won't process anything. You know, but I know I have capacity anyway, given that I can go up to like 332,000 or something. So, you know, we're here in March, and now we'll be at growth stage 1 on this field, or should be. Maybe it won't actually show up to growing until tomorrow. So yeah, we may basically get 3 harvests, which is okay. I mean, it'll be a determination of whether I want to go any quicker or not. But if we go conservatively and say this will be 1, 2, 3, then I can harvest this day. I can throw that in, and then I'd probably have Yeah, I'm not sure if it'll be 1, 2, 3 or if this will be the harvest day. Basically what I'm thinking is then I put it in and I don't technically need to empty it for another 3 days until I'm almost ready to harvest. I don't know, I'll have to see, because if I wait longer, I'll get a little bit more. But it just becomes the time thing again of if am I going to be available, because if I've got to run loads of silage, because as you can see we have 2 places to sell it. And right now, the biogas plant is best, which is closer, because the biogas plant is over here. So it's here to here. Otherwise, we're going here to... Oh, okay. I didn't realize. So the livestock market. So they're really actually almost the same. So it doesn't honestly matter too much. This one's probably just simpler because I have to go around field 30 to get anywhere. Because as always now, I'm waiting to see if I can get a few things done, because that makes me money, and that is what I'm trying to do. So for now, I have gotten my work done. It really wasn't too bad. I'd say 2.5, 3 hours total. Kind of what I would have expected. But more importantly, I think I was really thinking if I got 150, I would consider that good and what I was expecting, and being able, and I know that was conservative, so maybe 175 was kind of in my wildest dreams. So getting 193,000 off the field, it's pretty nice. Now once again, the field was perfect at this point, so this may change as we go. But for now, that's what I've got, and I'll see you next time.